I'm going to get back to my regular schedule soon, but I need to do this right now for obvious reasons. The same reasons why this will likely be the one Patreon review also released to the public very soon. I hope all my loyal Patreons understand. Damn it, 2017, you just had to go and show as soon as possible how you can be worse than 2016, didn't you? Yeah, I'm not gonna say this hit me harder than Robin Williams or Roddy Piper, or definitely not the family members I've had to say goodbye to recently, but yeah, this is still really sad. In the 1960s and 70s, Mary Tyler Moore was America's sweetheart. She enchanted audiences first as Laura Petrie, which is pretty amazing given there were other TV actresses at the time who played actual enchantresses. And then it went to another level when she and husband Grant Tinker created her own show starting in 1970. The Mary Tyler Moore Show is right there with Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, and Get Smart among the shows responsible for my love of classic television. And it remains in my top 3 sitcoms of all time. I have actually wanted for some time to do a mini-series of reviews focused on TV pilots, and this show is on that list of what I would review. So in honor of the woman who turned the world on with her smile, we're going to look back at the pilot episode of The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Love Is All Around. The episode opens in a snow-falling Minneapolis because snow always falls in Minnesota as early as September, didn't you know? Where we see Mary Richards being introduced to her new apartment by Phyllis Lindstrom. Sadly, Phyllis's intentions aren't completely noble, as she immediately reveals she signed off giving Mary the place just to keep the building's other tenant, Rhoda Morgenstern, from moving down into it.
Who's Aunt Rhoda? Oh, that dumb awful girl who lives upstairs that Bess likes. She's not your Aunt Bess.
Don't sugarcoat it, Phyllis. Tell us how you really feel. We're then soon introduced to Rhoda herself. She and Mary hit it off immediately.
Get out of my apartment. Now look, Rhoda, I don't know all the details, but Phyllis will be back in a while, and well, then we can talk about it.
I don't talk to her. And besides, there's no discussion here. This is my apartment.
Yeah, I'm still siding with Rhoda on this one. It makes sense that she would be peeved at anyone that she knew Phyllis was using to prevent her from getting the place she had every right to take first. Mary is just an innocent pawn being used in Phyllis's game here. And as I have made aware before, Phyllis doesn't become any more likable in future episodes. So whose side am I on? Phyllis, it sure isn't you. Not even after she gives the whole sob story about how Mary supposedly needs to start a whole new life for herself because her old boyfriend backed out of a promise to eventually marry her.
Compared to my life, that's a Walt Disney movie.
Now, for those not aware, the original pitch of the show was that Mary's character would be a divorcee, but that got scrapped for a couple of reasons. First, divorce was still a touchy issue to cover even in the 1970s. But the other reason was the fear that the audience would think she had divorced Rob Petrie. Isn't it nice to know that even 45 years ago, network executives still insulted their viewers' intelligence?
You think that I'm some kind of a pushover, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, then you're in for a little surprise. Because if you push me, then I just might have to push back. Hard.
Come on, you can't carry that off.
I know.
We fast forward to the next day, where Mary is going for her job interview at WJM-TV, and thus we're first introduced to Murray Slaughter.
Excuse me.
Hello, hello.
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 Well, someone's not subtle about flirting. And then we're introduced to Lou Grant. Hands down, one of the greatest characters in the entire history of television, and I will fight you in the street if you say otherwise.
Come on, you can't carry that off.
I know. The secretary job Mary originally applied for has been filled, but Mr. Grant is willing to interview her for another position. The interview process is a bit edgy.
What religion are you?
Mr. Grant, I don't quite know how to say this, but you're not allowed to ask that when someone's applying for a job. It's against the law.
Want to call a cop? Would you think I was violating your civil rights if I asked if you're married?
Yes, Mr. Grant, I will, but it does seem that you've been asking a lot of very personal questions that don't have a thing to do with my qualifications for this job.
And now for one of the greatest lines in the history of television.
You know what? You got spunk.
Well,
I hate spunk.
I just love this guy.
I'll try you out for a couple of weeks, see if it works out. If I don't like you, I'll fire you.
right.
You don't like me? I'll fire you.
Well, you gotta admire a guy who's up front with you.
What's the job?
The job is that of associate producer.
Associate.
So it looks like Mary has a new place to live and a better job than she thought she would get, so everything seems to be coming together, right?
Your boyfriend's coming to see you.
Dun dun dun! And with that sure to have not given her a good night's sleep, of course she'd want to be woken up the next morning by someone breaking into her apartment.
What are you doing with your furniture in my apartment? I hear your doctor boyfriend's making a little house call tonight. You know, Mary, I hope everything works out for you. Because if it does, that means you'll move out of here and this'll be mine.
Rhoda!
You know, I left New York City because I couldn't find an apartment. I'm not gonna leave Minneapolis for the same reason.
Okay, I will say that's not a good argument on Rhoda's part, since she does have a place to stay upstairs. It's never been suggested that Phyllis was going to or even could kick her out of the upstairs place for whatever that's worth. And again, taking it out on Mary is just the wrong person.
In spite of everything, you're really a pretty hard person to dislike.
I know what you mean. I'm having a hard time hating you, too. We'll both have to work on it.
And the ice begins to thaw just a little. That day, as Mary finds herself struggling to actually find something to do at WJM because Lou is kind of a do-it-yourself person, we now get introduced to...
Marcello Mastroianni of Minneapolis Newscaster.
Why, thanks, Murr.
It's not a compliment. He has trouble speaking English, too.
I'm Ted Baxter, the anchor man.
And so we get the first confrontation between Murray, Lou, and Ted. Or as I like to call them, Larry, Moe, and Curly circa 1970.
Hurry, give me that list of words that Baxter mispronounced on last night's show.
Check the top one, Lou.
The top one. Chicago. Come on, fellas.
Hey, it could be worse, Lou. You could have to deal with that Burgundy guy in San Diego. That night, Phyllis tries to give Mary a pep talk about getting back together with Bill. She's not very good at it.
I know how beautiful it can be if you look at it realistically. I mean, realistically. Face the fact that it means a certain amount of sacrificing, of unselfishness, denying your own ego, sublimating, accommodating, surrendering.
My life is miserable, so I want to make everyone else's miserable. Who knew? Also, I wonder if she'd be this hopeful if she heard what Rhoda had said about the apartment that morning. That almost makes me want to see Mary get back together with him. However, the first person to answer the door there isn't Bill.
Hi.
Now, I know what you're thinking, but Lou isn't really an alcoholic. He only drinks on nights after Ted does something dumb on the news. Yeah, that doesn't help my case, does it?
My wife left today. She's gonna be away for a whole month.
Now I know why you're here. Oh, yes, Miss Associate Producer. He said he'd find something for you to do. Certainly didn't get the job because of your personality.
You know, you got a great caboose.
There it is. You got the job because of your great caboose.
But not as great as my wife's. She's got the greatest caboose ever. She left today. She's gonna be away for a whole month and I miss her already.
This is why Lou Grant is a great character. Even if he is a loudmouth who doesn't take bull crap while on the job, we see that he does have a heart and cares for things like his family. He's one of the most layered characters ever created for television. Now do you see why I cry every time I see Ed Asner in a movie like Christmas Vacation 2? So it's while that goes on that Bill finally does show up, and it doesn't go so well either.
Oh, you didn't think that the only reason that I was here was to... No, I'm here because I love You.
You don't say that very well. Something kind of catches in there, and it doesn't come out too well.
Why don't you get us out of this? Huh? You say everything so well.
No, I don't. I say a lousy goodbye.
Damn, this is getting too heavy. I could really use some levity right now.
Hi. You got a stamp?
That'll do! So Bill leaves and both Lou and Rhoda tell Mary that she's better off without him, and that's pretty much how the episode ends.
I'll find plenty for you to do tomorrow at the station.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Grant.
If I show up. Hi.
Hi. If that's Bill, you didn't lose much.
Yeah, if there's one flaw I'll say this episode has, it's that the conflict Mary has to deal with is kind of weak. But that wasn't really the purpose of this episode in particular. Its job was to introduce us to each of the characters that will be integral to the series as a whole, and in that area, it did its job great. We see the different personalities of each character and how they will interact with one another, with how those different personalities will clash. And trust me when I say those interactions will only get better over time. There may have been some ensemble sitcoms on television before 1970, but this one really took it to another level. One that sitcoms ever since have had to look up to. The show may have had Mary Tyler Moore's name on it, but it was the complete cast that made everything work so beautifully. And this pilot episode did a brilliant job establishing that ensemble cast. But of course, it never would have been able to come together in the first place if it wasn't for Mary Tyler Moore. Rest in peace, Mary. You really did turn the world on with your smile.